Hello, hello. My name is Sharp Eyes.
And I'm Crucifix.
And do you really talk like that?
No, yours was worse. Yours was way worse.
We'll let our viewers decide for that.
Okay.
But anyway, my name
I'll
is Sharp Eyes.
and I'm Crucifix.
And this is
Uh, uh, Beard Xpwn, I think.
Beard Xpwn. And yeah, so welcome to WeCast, where we cast
Your games.
absolutely now. What are we doing tonight, Crucifix?
We are going to do some coaching. We're gonna show Beard Xpwn how to pwn some noobs.
Absolutely now. Why do we coach?
Because we love to help people.
And why do we like to help people?
Because StarCraft is awesome.
And why is StarCraft so awesome?
I don't know. It's just is.
All right. So Crucifix, joke of the episode.
Ugh.
Take it away.
This is the worst feature that we've ever done. Okay, joke of the episode is ugh. I used up my one joke. Why did the chicken cross the playground
Why?
to get to the other slide?
Ah,
Because instead of being side, it's slide.
that was actually significantly better than the last one.
No, the last one was way better. The cow. You know, I'm not even going to tell you. All you viewers out there who don't know about last episode's joke, which was awesome. You're just going to have to go to the replays and find it. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Alright, so without further ado, let's get things started.
Okay.
Looking like our coachee will be a Protoss player,
Nice.
I think.
So, Bathyrd Xpone versus Lanegum.
Actually, yeah. So it's Xpwn. So, yep, he is a Protoss.
Okay, great. So, PvZ is always hard. Let's see what happens.
Looks like. Okay, there we go. So, Crucifix, what are your thoughts on PvZ? Do you like the matchup? Do you hate it? Your thoughts?
I'm pretty neutral about PvZ. I think that so basically the Zerg has to deny the Protoss getting on 3 bases. And so it's kind of Zerg's mission to make sure the Protoss doesn't get on 3, and it's the Protoss's mission to make sure he does. Because as soon as that can happen, he can get High Templar and Colossi out at the same time, and Colossi and High Templar are both very good versus Zerg. And so like it's kind of like it's either going to be cheese, like one way or the other, because Protoss is super good at cheesing, and so is Zerg. So it's either going to be cheese, or it's going to be it's going to be like a long macro game where the Zerg player tries to deny the third and starve out the Protoss while taking engagements, like good engagements. I think that Vipers, like in this matchup, are really good, and I think not enough Zergs use them because like a Viper, like because a lot of Protoss, especially in the lower leagues, will default to Colossi. Like if they go late game, and Vipers basically make Colossi like not work. Like they ruin them, and so I think that like if Zerg can get those 3 bases and can get to Hive fast enough, like Viper's very good.
Yep. And so yeah, so basically, Vipers are good at versus Colossi, but a well-timed feedback from the High Templar just shuts all those Vipers down.
Exactly,
So,
and that's why you don't want them to get on 3 bases, so they can't
absolutely.
have both. Now, as a Zerg player, once the Protoss is on 3 bases, do you just try to expand, like get a 4th, and just try to pump out just as many units as you can to get that base down?
So basically, once the Protoss gets 3 bases, the Zerg player has to expand
I see.
to get a 4th and a 5th, and then pump out Ultralists. Ultralists are very, very powerful.
That's true.
Not many Protoss units can counter it, except for mass Immortals and Stalkers.
I see. And stalkers aren't even that good, like, against them.
Yep, but they're somewhat decent as they
Yeah.
they do bonus damage versus armored.
Yep. Marauders are actually surprisingly good against Ultralisk if you micro them correctly, and they don't get fungled.
Yep.
Some serious wallage going down here. You're doing a pretty good job spending your minerals. I like how you didn't necessarily go like a lot of players will just go for a one barracks fast, not one barracks. Sorry, they'll go for like a one gateway fast expand every game, and it's hard to spend. Like sometimes it's just hard to spend those minerals. I like your one base centric play. Sharp Eyes, do you know if this is about the correct number of buildings he should have for 2 bases?
Um, Considering his second base isn't saturated, this is a good number. One questionable play would be the photon cannons here, but I guess it's to prevent Zergling run-bys, so it's
Yeah.
understandable.
I mean, if Zerglings wanted to get in the base, they'd have to come in, go all the way around this, and then go to the probes, and the photon cannons would get a good number of shots on them.
But
But
I'd probably say that the cannons would be better placed over here,
yeah, no,
because
you definitely want
it protect both bases at once.
you definitely want defenses at the front of your base. I mean, these were good when you only had the one base, and maybe these were good when you only had the one base. But once you built your natural, like you want to defend it with more than just your army units, because once those leave, then you're not going to have anything. So you want static defenses. Always at the front of your base, whether that means it's like if the front of your base is currently your main, then you can throw down a photon cannon. But if you have a natural, throw down some static defense there.
So right here, I noticed that the Protoss player isn't building any more probes and hasn't been for a while. This is actually a very questionable play, as you can see that the Protoss player is actually trying to go for Colossi here.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think that the Protoss player should have kept on pumping out probes and used his chrono boost on his next side to
Right.
keep those probes coming along.
And yeah, and because you're going Colossi, you really want to be chrono boosting those out for one thing because of how long Colossi take without chrono boost, and secondly, you want to get those extra 2 gases like real soon because of how gas intensive Colossi are. And then make sure, like, I've seen like multiple times now that you've forgotten to saturate your gases once you build them. So like you should definitely work on remembering to saturate your gases because otherwise they're useless.
I really like the fact that the Protoss player is massing Zealots here, because he realizes that he can't just pump out Stalkers, or else he's not gonna have enough gas for the Colossi. So, kudos to you.
I think one thing is that you've been very passive like throughout the game, and then that kind of allowed the Zerg player to get a third base early. He was able to make a ton of army units. I think these Mutalisks are going to end up giving you issues, and so with Zerg you should really assume Mutalisks because they're so good and most Zerg players make them. You do have some Stalkers on the field, and but like, you do have a lot of Zealots, so those are really good for those. Those are really good for those Zerglings, and you will clean those up. But like the problem is if he focuses down your Stalkers, which it looks like he's doing, like you have no response to these Mutalisks now. Like you just have no anti-air at all. And so, what I would have recommended. Okay, that's unfortunate. What I would have recommended was like a little bit more map control, like have maybe a few units out on the field, like poking and prodding and finding out what his unit composition is and stuff like that. Because if you had seen the mutas, you would have known to go a little bit heavier on the stalker play, or at least put down some spore crawlers and stuff at your bases. So you'd probably want a couple. Oh my gosh, you probably want a couple. You probably want a couple cannons at the back of your bases and a couple at the front. But because like I like how you built them like now, but it's almost a little too late just because if you had that spore crawler, dang it! If you had that cannon support, while you were fighting that first big battle, like you would have been able to kill the mutalisks. But since you didn't have that, they were able to focus down. They were able to focus down your stalkers, and then there's just nothing you could do after that.
Yep.
Okay.
So a couple of points to take from that game is try to get map control and try to saturate both your bases, and then after that saturation, you can really pump out those units.
Right.
Let's go ahead and go into the next replay here. Versus Huge Hugs. So
Awesome.
a very tender and loving opponent.
It could even be Juge Hugs. Or Judge Hugs. Probably is Huge Hugs, though. Oh, I get it. Get it? Because you switch the H and the J around, and then what does that say?
Huge Jugs.
Yeah, and those are boobies. So yeah, pretty funny.
Very funny.
Indeed. Just as funny as my joke, right?
Quite.
Quite.
So yeah, PVT, Crucifix. What do you think of this matchup? Since you're so familiar with it.
It's pretty good. I like PVT. I like fighting against Protoss. But one thing I noticed is see, this was the first time you've used Chrono Boost so far, and it's really important to use Chrono Boost as soon as you can at the beginning of the game. And see, it's already ready again right now, and you haven't used it again. And because to make sure that you're getting the early you need to get as much early economic advantage as you can versus a Terran player, because once they get mules, those are really powerful. And so you have to make sure you're using Chrono Boost on your Nexus at the beginning of the game every time it's available.
Yep.
But yeah, so PVT basically, Protoss player has to be careful of early bio pushes before they get their Colossi out, because before that it's pretty hard to deal with. Zealots are good versus Marauders, but then Marines are good versus Zealots. Stalkers are good versus Marines, but Marauders are good versus Stalkers. So if you can tell that your opponent is going to do some sort of early bio push, you need to make sure you have the right ratio of Zealots and Stalkers to defend.
So it does look like Terran player has. This is actually really interesting. He walled off his natural with some barracks.
It did indeed. But it's not even a full wall off.
What's more interesting is that he does not have an orbital command yet.
Yeah, Terran player's not very good, but he is doing kind of what I said, where he goes for an early bio push. So he's going for he's doing a triple Rax super early Marine push, and he's probably going to win just because he has way more army than the Protoss player does. So my recommendation for this is I would have liked to see. Let me see here. I would have liked to see some scouting, and that's the reason that you lost this game, was because if you had gone over to his base after your first pylon or second pylon, and when you had seen that he had these 3 barracks here, or that he didn't have anything in his you would have seen these 3 barracks and seen how early they were and known that something really fishy was going on, because a Terran player, if they fast expand, they're going to expand at about 5:15. If they don't fast expand, if they have 3 barracks before an expansion, then you know you're gonna get rushed. That's what they can't. A Terran player can't get away with this without doing early pressure, because if he did and you expanded, he'd be like infinitely behind. And so, what I would have just recommended is you did have an observer out at some point, but I think maybe that would have even been too late. Like, I think sending a probe scout out to go over there and keep an eye on things. Once you saw that he didn't have a natural, go ahead and keep that probe over there to check in every minute or so to see what's happening. So you would have seen, those Marines coming. You would have seen the 3 barracks, known that something was up, and would have been able to throw down cannons and pumped out more units, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Also, I think you're going for a 4-gate here, but it was way too slow. Like, you need it. Like, if you were going for a 4-gate, like, oh no, you weren't. You were getting immortals and stuff. So I don't think you were going for a 4-gate. But yeah, I feel like you have too many buildings here for only one base. Like right now, you might have been okay. Like, if this didn't happen to you, you might have been okay to make some units, but I think you would have found yourself running out of minerals.
Yep. Yeah. So basically, to sum it all up, we're gonna do 6 sexy tips for better gameplay. Now, Chris, what is this, and why do we do this?
Well, it's the sexiest part of the coaching session, and the reason we do it is because we feel like we talk about so much stuff during the replays that it's kind of hard to think, okay, well, what do I actually need to work on, like, to remember everything. And so, like, what we try to do is to kind of wrap it up with 6 tips, and if you are going to write anything down from the coaching session, like, this is what we always suggest, because these are like the 6 things that you can do to just, like, if you can, like, work on these until you have these things down, then you'll be in a really good spot. So.
And we guarantee at least 1 league promotion by the end of the week if you dedicate 24 hours a day every day.
Exactly. If you don't, if you okay, well, you can have 20, you can do 21 hours and sleep for 3 hours a night, and then as long as you play StarCraft for 21 hours and you work on just these 6 tips, you will get at least 1 league promotion.
No bathroom breaks, no food.
Right. Yeah,
no drinks.
or else the guarantee is off. There have been several people who have died trying to keep their guarantee, but whatever. Okay, so tip number 1.
Number 1.
Sexually use your chrono boost as much as you can, because you have to use that in early game. Like, as soon as it's ready, use it to start pumping out, and then throughout the game, because without chrono boost, you're just putting yourself at a really big disadvantage.
Yeah, and to add on that, pretty much you need to get into like a macro pattern. So what you want to do is you want to constantly remind yourself that you need to be using chrono boost. Mm-hmm. So maybe you can create a mental connection between looking at your minerals, building units, building probes, then chrono boosting.
Right. So, like, every time you go to build probes, go ahead and just make sure you don't have any chrono boost available.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Right, point number 2. Let's see. So I noticed that you're playing really passively. Basically, what you want to do is you want to try to build maybe like eight or so units. Try to harass your opponent while expanding. And then after that, securing your natural expansion, saturating it, and then after you get at least 16 workers on minerals per base, just mass up your units, tech up, and then just try to hit sometime between 10 to 15 minutes at your level of play.
Sounds good. I would say that point number 3 could be, find a build order online that you like. Not, it's not anything really specific. Just like a general build order for like the first 8 minutes or so of the game that you can practice and get down, and then from there, it's just like a very basic build order that you can just expand upon. Maybe like a one gate expand. where you can learn how to do that. You can practice it over and over again versus AI until you're able to do it well, and then you're open from that point to just have a really good rest of your game. But if you don't have like your early game down really well, then the rest of your game's going to suffer.
Okay. Uh, Point number 4. Um, this is kind of related to the last point, but you really don't want to miss probe production until you reach max saturation on 2 bases.
Hmm.
So basically, if you're on 1 base, keep making probes. If you're on 2 base, make sure both bases are making probes.
Right.
And
Because like once you
yeah,
even if you're fully saturated, like if you keep making probes, that once your third gets up, you can have instant full saturation. So.
yep. And but alternatively, instead of taking a third base, since it's kind of hard to do that at the lower leagues. But what you can do is once you saturate both bases, your goal is to get to 200 supply ASAP. So you saturate you saturate 2 bases, get to 200, and then hit.
Sounds good.
Yep. Next tip.
What tip are we on? Do you know?
We're on tip number. Wait. See first. Number 5.
Tip number 5.
Number 5.
I would say that you need to scout more. Like you don't need to scout, all. You don't need to be constantly scouting all the time. But I would say that like taking a small squad to do some poking is a good way to scout, or to make sure that as soon as your observer comes out, to send it to their base. And then definitely do an early game scout with like a probe after your first or second pylon, and then just check what's going on. Make sure that they see if they have a natural expansion or not. See what's kind of happening, because if you're able to see those 3 barracks early game, you can prepare for it. But since like you didn't see those barracks and you were kind of trying to fast tech on 1 base, there was just no way to win that game.
Yep. Yep. It is imperative to know what your opponent is doing at all times.
Yeah.
And if all times is too hard for you, then try to aim for around the 7 minute mark and around the 10 minute mark.
Right.
And point number 6. If Protoss doesn't work for you, change to Zerg. Zerg is the better race. No,
Just
no, no, I'm just kidding.
no,
uh,
but
so basically, to relate to that, so let's say that you try something over and over again and it doesn't work for you, and you find yourself losing. Don't be afraid to branch out and try different strategies.
mhm. Yeah,
Or
don't get caught up on like one thing. Like, oh, I really like this Oracle rush. I'm gonna do that over and over again, and then it's not working, and you get frustrated and you don't know why. Well, just you know, try something. Just try something else. Maybe look up different kinds of build orders. Don't get stuck on one thing for too long if it's not working out for you.
yep, and if you find that Protoss is getting boring for you, don't be afraid to experiment and try out the other races as well, since especially at the lower leagues, you can really get comfortable with all of the races, and
Hmm.
this will actually help you out because so basically if you only know Protoss, you're only gonna know Protoss, and you won't really
Right.
know what the other races are capable of, and so what better way to know than to play as all the races?
Right.
Yep.
And then also, if you enjoyed today's coaching session, if you have any suggestions, anything else that you'd like to let us know, we'd really appreciate a review on nerdupgrades.com. It helps us to get more coachees, and just lets us to coach every night because we enjoy it so much. So,
Absolutely, a review on nerdupgrades.com would be lovely.
nerd.
Indeed. Now, Chris Fix, let's go ahead and do a closing joke of the episode.
Okay, you can. Yeah, it's your joke if you want it.
All right. What color is an orange turtle?
What?
It's orange because I just
That's
told you.
literally the worst joke in the world. Like, it was absolutely, positively the worst. What if I had said orange? What would have you said then?
I would have said green
Why? That doesn't
because
make
turtles are green, obviously.
okay. So no matter what, I like you're always just like a butthole about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, sounds good.
All right. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the cast. We always try our very best to coach every single night because we're awesome like that.
Or at least I am.
Right. Once again, my name is Sharp Eyes,
And I'm Crucifix.
and this is
We cast
where we cast.
war games.
Absolutely. Now let's go ahead and get started on the first replay here.
Just right back at the beginning. And until next time.
Keep on playing.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.